All right, we're back and we have sound and we're the right way, so everything's good. Glad to be here. This is our last press conference for this September, but that also means the city's calendar year. We'll be starting a new calendar year next week, at the end of this week, at 1st of October, so we certainly welcome you. We got a couple of things we're talking about that will be coming up, but we have one thing that happened this past week. We certainly enjoyed having the opportunity to have our diversity exchange for signing up and working with companies and local businesses here to give them the opportunity to interact with both local and state offices for procurement. And I know we certainly appreciate Brian Wire, a good friend of ours, who is the chairman of the Gulf Coast African American, Minority Chamber of Commerce. I still call Escambia Community Covenant or whatever Community Health. I still call them Escambia Community Clinics. So it'll take me a long time to get over that. But for the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber, Brian, thank you very much for being here, and thank you for the diversity exchange program you put on and your chamber put on last week.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to give you a certificate of appreciation. It reads, this certificate is awarded to Grover Robinson IV and City of Pensacola for recognition of outstanding support in the Pensacola Office Supplier Diversity event on today's date. I just want to tell you that Grover attended the Office Supplier Diversity event. He opened it up with kickoff, and he was just so charming. People in Tallahassee loved talking on the phone. We had some fun, laughs back and forth. This was the first Office Supplier Diversity event virtually for the whole entire state. We had over 100 attendees be there from all over the state and actually all over the region, and we had great businesses, great agencies, and they just love your hospitality, and they appreciate you being there.
Good. Brian, thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, that's an effort we've been working on for some time. I know it's not just the City of Pensacola. I know Escambia County also participating in that, and how we can do that. I certainly appreciate the state, and I know it was a little unusual. It was planned to be in person. I've done that before. I know you've done one here in person, but it was good to at least have it and have it virtually, and where we're going. Let's get started with a couple things, and I did just want to say, speaking of some other stuff, certainly we're going to get to COVID, and again, our numbers are continuing to go down. The City of Pensacola, you probably noticed, we've stopped requiring masks for vaccinated individuals back again, going back to where we were before with this, and allowing for, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask here at City Hall. But also some of the other things we had opened up prior. This is the second weekend we've had football. We've had other stuff going on. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening there. But we also had a great seafood festival. I went out and volunteered and was a part of that. Helped sell some beer and beverages on Friday before it was getting kicked off. It was good to be a part of, and it looked like it was a great festival. There were just a number of people in there certainly having a good time. The weather couldn't have been better. Again, October is one of those times of September where the weather can be absolutely the most amazing if you don't have a hurricane. So knock on wood. Well, I know Chief Craner continues to keep watching for us on the tropics, but so far we haven't seen anything, and we really needed some time to dry out, and this was a great weekend, just sun, and I saw lots of people. Hope you got a chance to get outside and enjoy it. I can tell you I've seen a lot of people on Jerry May Garden walking and running, and everybody's taking advantage of the weather. It really has been nice. A couple things is going into this week. Garden Street Lane closure extended. The temporary lane closure on the section of westbound Garden between North Jefferson and Tarragona has been extended due to weather delays. The impacted lane is now expected to reopen on Friday, October 8th, so we got about another 2 weeks. The lane closure is impacting only the westbound lane on the north side of East Garden, as utility connections are being made for the East Garden District's Jefferson Street Revitalization Project. Eastbound traffic will not be impacted. Stormwater construction will be starting soon at Admiral Mason Park. Just a heads up, the construction will be starting there in the park, which will impact public use of the park and temporarily close the section of Romana between 9th and 10th. Construction will include the installation of underground stormwater pipe in the park, and the public should be aware that landscaping, trees, and other amenities on site near the pond will be removed. Please note they will be replaced after construction is completed. We do not have a construction start date yet, but we will have one soon. An official announcement will be made when we have those dates. I know I appreciate David keeping up with that. I saw John Pittman here. I see Amy. I thought we had the mayor's cleanup. We did collect 74 tons of bulk waste. We also got 1,100 gallons of paint and 55 tires. The cleanup took place on Saturday in a portion of Scenic Heights in the areas off Spanish Trail. The mayor's neighborhood cleanup allows the city sanitation customers in the cleanup area to leave eligible items on the curb for pickup free of charge. This was the second to last neighborhood cleanup of the year. The last one will be for 2021 will be on October 30th. Please visit cityofpensacola.com for more information about the mayor's neighborhood cleanups. Pensacola Fire Department is participating in Fire Prevention Week, which is October 3rd through 9th. The Fire Department is teaming up with National Fire Prevention Association to promote this year's Fire Prevention Week campaign, Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety. This year's campaign, October 3rd through 9th, works to educate everyone about simple but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe. The Pensacola Fire Department is hosting a series of events in support of this year's Fire Prevention Week. To learn how more and see ways that you can participate, stay tuned to the Pensacola Fire Department's Facebook page or the cityofpensacola.com. COVID numbers again continue to drop. Our positivity has dropped this past week to 17.3%. And again, we continue to see the drop, but really the big part is we've seen the numbers of individuals going in for testing, and certainly some of the other things that we've done, having the monoclonal site, trying to keep people out of the hospital. All of these things are critical to us getting back where we are with our hospitals. I look forward to talking with them today at 2 o'clock. I know that they're all beginning to breathe a little sigh of relief. Friday we were at 147, Saturday we were at 150, Sunday 142, and then this morning 137. So the fact that we've now gone under 140, and I think it's continuing to move in a downward direction. We've seen, in fact, it's amazing to me. I guess today is the 27th or 28th, 27th. When I looked on there, I looked up at the 1st of September, and I think there were 76 at Sacred Heart, and it was it was over 180 were there a month ago. So you see it's a fairly significant drop. I mean, Sacred has seen 100 patient with COVID drop dramatically. Obviously, I know that they would feel much better if they get their numbers under 50, what they would feel more comfortable with. But obviously, at this point, it's something that's there. And like I said before, our other hospitals are very much in line, and they've seen a significant reduction. So we will continue to look there. But again, we will be changing some of our things and habits in what we're doing. I think you've also seen very much what we've done with opening. And I want to talk about a couple of things that we'll continue to see openings in our parks and things as we go forward, and certainly encouraging use. Now, again, we all need to be responsible in doing what we can. But again, I think this is that point that I said a year ago. I remember sitting here with Rick, and he was concerned, and what we were saying, and we kept saying, what we talk to the hospitals is there are going to be times where we go up and down, and what we need you to do is work with us, and we promised you when things get challenging, we're going to ask you to wear masks, but when things come down, you can trust the government. We're going to tell you, if stuff comes down, we don't need you to go there. So again, I think those are all things that are important in what we're doing with COVID, and realizing the importance going forward that there will be times that we have to mask up and times we can relax on mask, and we're going to try to do that. We tried to communicate that about a year ago, but I think everybody's beginning to see now how this works as we move forward, and how we have to, we'll have these periods of impact and then no impact, and we certainly, we're all sort of trying to see where we go. With this one, I hope we had 4 months last time of real no impact. I would love to see more time like that. It really allows us to do many more things at the city besides just dealing with COVID. And so we're excited to be back. We opened everything up, I guess, about a week and a half ago, and we felt good about our decision making it then, and I think the numbers continue to show we made the right decision in what we're doing. I want to talk about a couple of things that were just really good. I was just walking in today, and I saw Yvette McClellan, who was telling me she spent all weekend up at Vickery for the football for her grandsons. So it sounds like it was a successful week. Brian, I said, what made it more successful is that we just had football at Vickery, and we now have soccer now out at Hitzman. I can't tell you how many people. Obviously, the Seafood Festival was incredible, and you would have thought it would have been the thing. It had more people, but I think over Facebook and everywhere else, social media, I think the opening of Hitzman and people being out there, I got more good responses, people extremely excited about what Hitzman is now and the opportunity to be there, and it sounded really good. I mean, all the families I talked to had a great experience there, Brian. It sounded like it was a great weekend, so it was exciting to see that's opened, and everybody was very happy with the new fields and where we're going. I know we're still working a few kinks out to get the final construction in, but overall, it certainly showed up for what we thought it could be when we started this process. What we knew was going to be better for our children, for our families, and really what needed to happen. And I know there was a lot of consternation about it, but I believe now that it's open, we're going to see that this was so much the right decision for the city and our citizens. I think it's going to be a great thing for our children, and I think it's just going to be better overall in our athletics and what we're doing in allowing people to have more park amenities to enjoy across the city. So very excited to see that today, and I think it was a great weekend. It sounded like out of Hitzman. So we had some of those things going. There are a couple other things that I think that are critical that happened this past week. One of which I was going to say we were really excited about finalizing out, and we got that done at the council meeting last week on the union agreements with all of the police unions, and I think it showed the investment that we're making in the police department. But I think it was a really good day for the police department just to see what has been going on and where we go and what's happening there. I thought it was really appreciated. The News Journal over the weekend writing the editorial, because it seems like it wasn't even about 6 months ago. We had a number of things in there, problems that we're dealing with. The police that we've worked through and the relationships they had within the city. We had issues with even in the I think it was a news article that there was going to be no confidence in the administration in dealing with the union. We've managed to show all the things that we've worked through and gotten all those things behind us, and I think really have shown how impressive the Pensacola Police Department is. I think what gets lost in this is the relationship certainly that they were building, but what they've even strengthened on top of that. We got a lot of criticism for the gun buyback, and I kept telling you we weren't trying to buy all the guns back, and we didn't think we were going to stop all of gun violence. But what we did hope to do was establish a better relationship between the Pensacola Police Department and the neighborhoods in District 7, and I think we've seen that. I think what we've seen is a stronger relationship, that even though we've had some crime, we've been successful in catching those criminals. I wish we'd have no crime in the city of Pensacola, but I think what we've seen now is if you commit gun violence, we have been able to be successful in catching those individuals. And we're going to continue to be, because we're building good relations with the people around there. And those are the things that we need to be doing. Those were happening before we got Chief Randall, but Chief Randall has certainly expanded upon that. So I think it's hard to believe it was 6 months ago. We move into always it's the new issue of the day, but for so long it was police. And I think the things that you've seen now are the things we knew were the case, that we could build this better relationship. We've been doing it over time, and the fruits that have come out of that have been very successful. And I think the editorial this weekend, and certainly getting all of the union agreements signed off on and being able to move forward, it's all very exciting. I think it's a great day ahead at the Pensacola Police Department. They do an incredible job keeping us safe, and they're going to continue to do it. And I don't, again, for some reason we still have crime, but they seem to catch everybody, so I don't know why. If you're intending to do crime, I wouldn't do it in the city of Pensacola, because we've made inroads, and we're gonna catch you if you do it. So those are some things that we continue to keep working on that I was incredibly proud and excited about last week. The other one that I think was out there was it sort of went by quietly, was us signing an agreement with the Pensacola Blue Wahoos to continue to keep baseball here in the city of Pensacola for another 10 years. We're excited to announce that the Blue Wahoos will continue to call Pensacola home for another 10 years. They just renewed the lease and extended the 2 5-year terms. The Pensacola Blue Wahoos are such an integral part of the Community Maritime Park in downtown Pensacola, and I'm very excited that they've decided to stay here for another 10 years. This is incredibly a great, it's one thing we got them here. It's now that we can show it extended, because you see other places like Mobile, other places that have lost, that have been unable to keep their franchises. And I think it really speaks to a lot of the things we've done here. Certainly we wouldn't be able to do this without the significant effort to make the transitions that will happen this year, moving to artificial turf, which I think will be better for us to handle both football and baseball, and to do the other baseball improvements to the stadium over the off season this year. I think will be, those will all be integral to keeping baseball here for another 10 years, and certainly the vibrancy which it brings to our community. We're very excited about having that opportunity, and I think it was another thing that was so important that we wanted to get accomplished here and extended. So that was huge. So very excited about that. And then lastly, obviously, I think what council did last week, and certainly moving forward in sort of what we had hoped to do, I think we got pulled into this whole eviction. No, eviction was not the thing. We've been working with dealing with homelessness, and I think a lot of work that probably has gone somewhat unnoticed, and too many things get caught up in somewhat the drama of what happens at the council meeting. But again, we've been quietly working with the coalition to reduce homelessness. Certainly Monday they brought forward their recommendations last Monday. We're going to be bringing some of those to the council in October. So we're excited about moving that. But again, this is going to allow us to probably the next 90 to 120 days to really transition people that were there out of there into real shelter, and beginning to deal with, it's not just shelter, well, that's certainly the main part of it. There's also a lot of programming in there that's needed, and other things to get people to move on. And again, I'm very excited about also looking at something like a Lotus campaign that really does what they did in Charlotte, and bringing the private sector in, and really kind of helping them open up at the very top end opportunities, because we're going to move people into some temporary shelters, but if we don't have housing beginning to open up and make places available, that's the key at all levels. And I think we've all agreed how we can do that and better place people. And I think Lotus comes in, and they kind of take the risk out of it for the apartment developers or other rental property owners, and it gives them the opportunity to bring people in. And therefore, they're not all successful, but as what we learned through Civicon, there's a good number of people that are successful, and that's what really helps move that forward. And I do believe if it can work in Charlotte and other communities, I'm sure it can work here in Pensacola, and we're looking to engage them. We're going to be meeting with them this week and having those discussions. So I think all these things are beginning to really address some of the things that we've dealt with homelessness, and begin to move. And we also, I think it's a huge commitment to continue to make to the neighborhood that park is going to come back. We really appreciate them working with us in a temporary position. We've had a number of challenges that we've had to deal with COVID, and not everything has been what everybody wanted. And in fact, we see that awfully out there a lot. People are continuing to be upset here and there, and we understand during COVID the challenges. We're all dealing with things that we didn't necessarily want to deal with. But again, I think the neighborhood has been gracious in working with us in a temporary fashion to put something there, but I think now is the right time for us to be moving on plans to begin to transition. And certainly, as we're seeing COVID go down, and we're going to have probably, hopefully, several months of some downtime, this would be the right time for us to move forward and implement that plan. So I think those are kind of where we are today and the things that we're looking at. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and I look forward to hearing. And then I guess one thing before we go, this is also Keith's. I see him back there. This is his last. This is his last meeting as administrator. We certainly appreciate him being city administrator, and we've enjoyed the 2 years he's been here, and certainly appreciate his service, not just here at the City of Pensacola, but Escambia County as well. And like I said on the radio show this morning, he's not going anywhere too far. He'll still be here, he and Joan, but we will miss him at the city. But the good news is he's not far enough that we can't bring him up here if we need to get some information or some other stuff. The other exciting thing seeing here is obviously Kareth Fiddler, who will be starting over in his new position on October 1st, and also David Forte, who will be moving into Kareth's position on October 1st. So a lot of transition will be happening here at the city, but I'm confident that we will continue to keep moving forward. You won't even probably notice what's happened one way or the other, but we did at least want to take the moment to say thank you to Keith, and we certainly appreciate everything that he's done for the city of Pensacola. But with yes.
At the council meeting, Connie Bookman seemed, pretty optimistic that the transition would be a really doable thing. Has she shared with you what she's basing this on?
Connie clearly said she thought she could be out of there in 30 days. I am not as optimistic, Jeremy, as that, but I certainly think in 90 to 120 days we should be able to make those things happen. What's amazing to me, I don't know how much you caught then of the thing of that meeting, but in there it was very clearly. I don't know if the people who were there to keep the thing wanted to necessarily place it as this way, but they basically said all the 40 individuals that started out there are now placed in somewhere else. We've placed probably. Again, Lawrence, I don't know. I imagine we've probably placed 100 people into some type of housing. So, I think that gets lost in this whole thing, Jeremy. The challenge is certainly from an equity standpoint. It's not just Pensacola. When you look at homelessness, if you think you're going to solve it all through one city, that's just not going to happen. But clearly, we've been moving people out of that area under the interstate since the first of the year. It's not something that we expected that we probably could have opened up a few things and gotten a few people moved. We have been able to do that. Obviously, new people have come in. At some point, we understand we want to help everybody that's there, but at some point, we only have enough resources to help so much. What we would highly encourage is if every city in Northwest Florida, if every county in Northwest Florida took the same approach, we probably could make a tremendous dent. But if you're expecting the city of Pensacola to lift this boat on its own, it's not going to happen. We can do what we can, and we've proven that we can get people in transition, and we're proving that we're going to set up stuff to go forward. But it's not something the city of Pensacola can lift by itself. But we hope we can begin to show other communities and certainly nationally some opportunities to move forward to help with this issue.
So did she share with you specifically though? She was talking specifics.
The specifics that she showed last Monday in the plan, absolutely. She came last Monday.
Well,
did you?
Not the plan, but she said, community partners basically were coming forward.
I think she thinks if they can get the funding in October at the next meeting, that those people that she already has plans with can turn around and get it done. Lawrence, I think that's what she was indicating. Connie, the question was about Connie's optimism on thinking it could be done in 30 to 45 days. Again, I think it certainly can be done in 90 to 120. But who knows? We might get it done in 40 45. I don't know. I mean, the first part will come with getting the approval of the appropriation from council on the 13th. And once that starts, I think we can begin to start seeing some movement. We've already been, I mean, we've already been moving people out from under there. And I mean, I think it was acknowledged by the people who came and spoke that we've moved a lot of people out of there.
On the $3 million, there was a little bit of that 400,000 you were saying you wanted to put that on Lotus. You think that's a better use than additional, housing units or shelter units?
Okay, the question was the money that was there's about 400,000 left, and I think on last Monday, Connie and I got a little bit of argument. She wanted to put more pallet uses out there. I wanted to go Lotus. We probably could always use more of the pallet use, but I think at the end of the day, I still look at what are you hoping to set people up for long term. I think the pallets are the good interim short term, but I think ultimately what we want to do is we want to get people exposed to being able to get some type of housing that's, I mean, and again, I'm not saying it's a single family detached house. I'm saying there's some kind of housing somewhere that people could rent or some type or have a place to go. And the issue is, how do you get the private sector to begin building for that? I mean, I think the private sector is incredibly efficient if you set up the right parameters. And so much of their biggest, if you listen to the Lotus campaign, what they talked about is the barriers that happen that take the risk out of it. Mainly, what usually happens is people who are homeless have no track record, they have no history, they have no ability to do deposit. So they are a significant risk to the private sector investor. It doesn't mean that they're going to fail, and I think that's the important part to remember. Lotus's own experience is probably 80-85% of them are succeeding. But you need some kind of backstop to deal with it, because not everyone is going to be there. I mean, I think those things were mentioned. People are wanting to get off their addiction. They're wanting to get things. It was discussed at the comments that were made from some of the citizens coming up that those were things that were happening. However, people relapse. So there is this 10 to 15%, 10 to 15, 20% that does fail. And so if you can find a way to provide a backstop, and I think that's what Lotus allows, to come in and provide that backstop that takes out the security risk for the private sector, then they'll start opening up more opportunities. You'll see more housing. In fact, now one of the things that happened in Charlotte, they talked about, when we talked about the things at Maritime Park, some developers said, yeah, we'll put some housing, but they've never really told us the details of how they do it or whatever. They have a program. It's much like Covenant with Community, where it started and people were like, this newfangled, how do you do this? I don't even know what happened. I mean, Mike Moret, I can tell you right now, with Moret Construction, it's a thing that they do. They even do it in the private sector. They have a form. We had somebody that was coming to talk to us about wanting to get some building done, and they said, we're using Moret for construction. They're going to use a Covenant for the Community on a private deal. We didn't even force anybody to do it, but I think it's the same thing that comes out of this. Once you start the process, I don't think the private sector is unwilling to figure out how to do these things. What they are trying to figure out is, where's the risk. And if you can take the risk out for them, they'll figure a way to make some, because ultimately they want to make houses. They want to make things work. They want to make housing. And ultimately what we need is more housing. So we need to encourage some way or another to get the private sector involved in this process. And so I think very much if we can do that, and Lotus has figured it out, I don't have to reinvent something new. If another community's already solved it, why don't we take what they've done, figure out how to take it, and then kind of tweak it here or there so it works for Pensacola. I think if we can do that, we're going to be successful at the top end, and then we won't have to have so many pallets, because the ultimate goal is not to move somebody to a pallet; it's to move them actually in somewhere where they have more substantial shelter. I think that's it. But in the intermediate step, I think Connie's hopeful to get people into some temporary housing on private property, and so she's been working with groups to make that happen, and she seems to think she can make all this work. So I'm certainly willing to work with her to figure out how to do that. I'm going to come right back to you. Jim, go ahead.
Well, I guess, first off, do you have any of the, hard data on the number of people y'all moved out? Or is that
I don't, but I think Lawrence, can you get that? Do you have that information?
Yes, sir, I get that.
Okay.
And then I guess, so you said you're going to start engaging with the Lotus Group. Are you going to go to the council first to ask for the 400,000, or how is that going to work?
Well, we are talking with Lotus how to set it up this week. I do think it's going to be there. I would be shocked if we bring it as early as the first meeting in October, Jim. I think it's more likely the second meeting for the Lotus part. I do believe Connie's recommendations will come forward at the one she brought forward last Monday. They will be at the next council meeting. We will be asking for those.
And then I guess just a follow-up to Jeremy's question is if you're 90 to 100 days, you're starting to move people out, or how do you stop people from coming back? Like if you've already moved 40 people out and still there's...
Well, I think we're going to run up against a hard stop in 90 to 120 days because we have other plans for the property. So I think that's what's going to stop ultimately there. I hope we've placed everybody in something else, and I hope we've done something there. If we haven't, we're going to continue to keep working through those things what we can. We would highly encourage other cities, other counties across Northwest Florida to engage because the issue is if we all take our own little piece of the puzzle and piece of the pie, we can make it work. But if you're expecting City of Pensacola to handle all this, Jim, it's not going to happen. I mean, that's an unrealistic expectation. We don't have enough resources to make that happen. Yes.
Mayor, last week the city released a greenhouse emission baseline report, and in June you also released with little fanfare the sea level rise vulnerability assessment, and then over the weekend the national media is reporting that FEMA is changing the flood maps again, and that this is going to impact flood insurance rates in a major way. Citizens Insurance in Florida is facing an unprecedented deficit in its ability to pay claims. What is the city, clearly you've taken steps, but what do you see as the city's actionable role in protecting against the sea level rise? I mean, we saw it in the recent rain event. There's a lot going on, but could you give us a quick summary?
Yeah, I think there are a couple things that are happening. I mean, I really think in a lot of ways, I guess the question was talking about our infrastructure and what do we deal with sea level rise in the report that came out. First off, I want to thank you for recognizing the work that Mark does. It does sometimes go unnoticed, but he's doing a great job for us in making that happen. I think in a lot of ways, at least the city now having somebody on staff that is bringing some attention and how we can make some of these changes and listening to his recommendations as he's moved forward. Mark has been very much about how do we begin to address some of these things, what we can. I think identifying the areas, we know the areas over the next 25 years to 50 years where we will have the biggest impact. The good news is it's not really a tremendous amount of places for us. I mean, we're not Miami that you could have the whole city underwater or something else. So, I mean, John, there is some good news in the assessment. We didn't have a ton of stuff that was really impacted. We do have some places that we know are significant challenges. DeVillers Street area and 9th Avenue area, we know we have problems. It was identified in the current to the next 25 years. These are areas where we know we have problems. Continuing to figure out how to solve some of those is going to be our challenge as we work through it. We'll continue to do it, but the infrastructure itself has shown that it can sustain impacts. It floods, it goes back down. It's we cleaned it up. It looks good. We may have to do some of that. The bigger challenge is the more permanent stuff around there, and I don't know how we work with it. I mean, certainly, if anything comes on to the old ECUA, it's going to have to be built in such a way that it can survive because we already know what happens. I do think we see it on the beach all the time, where the new stuff that's that's built is so much better at sustaining against losses than what we had built there originally. So I think a lot of the ways our code will do some of that. I think we need to continue to address what's happening in this area, and then I think we're going to continue to keep pushing as much as we can. But again, if the city of Pensacola is the only one that makes an effort to do stuff, no, it's not going to happen. I mean, I think what we're saying is we're willing to change our ports. That's what we're working with Mark is. We're working to bring our greenhouse emissions down, and we're going to do that a lot. But are we going to? If no one else joins in, is it going to be successful? No. But we hope by starting this and going forward, we will begin to show other people that it can be done, and they can jump in. It hasn't been a tremendous imposition on us to get at least the stuff done that we've moved forward. We've invested in Mark, and the things that Mark's brought forward are things that we can do, and action items that we're already beginning to do. And many of the action items we hope will have a trade-off in operation, so that we'll use less energy as we go forward. So, I don't have any significant answer about that we're gonna somehow solve this all by ourselves, but I do think Pensacola is going to do its steps to deal with climate change and any sea level rise. We will be able to work with. We're already making those adjustments and figuring what we need to do as a community. And I think whatever codes we have go forward with buildings are doing that. I think when you look at the commitment that we made with ARPA to stormwater, I think is huge. Several of our things, and the final one is perhaps our biggest stormwater need is the Hollis T. Williams, which is one of the reasons why we can't have it become a campground facility. It's just not going to work for us. We've identified that area for significant other uses, which you get back to all the things you're talking about in dealing with it. I think is the reason that we will not be able to use that area for a campground. It just won't work because it's going to be such a vital part of dealing with our stormwater. In fact, it's our most the most significant unhandled stormwater portion at this point. Is $20 million, and so it is the biggest chunk. I think we had a little bit over $40 million, so it's almost half of it right there. And what we're doing with stormwater, but we're going to knock out a lot of things. I know there are a significant number of people and where I live in Cordova Park that were very concerned about what happened with as we call it, Lake Flint at the airport. Was a huge investment into that. It did hold, but it was very close to topping. But we're going to take the pond over there off of Marketplace, which is the one Sherry wants Councilwoman Myers wants to do the improvements around, make it look a little bit better. But we're also going to make that retention pond deeper, so it has significant more volume capacity to handle. And so, I mean, we're making strides everywhere across the city in trying to deal with this. We're gonna fix pipes on Barrancas and some other things. I think our number one issue when I talk with David is it's really a rate of rain problem. If the rain goes at a certain inches an hour, the pipes aren't big enough to handle. However, once the rain subsides, it all flows down pretty quickly. That means the pipes are doing their job. What it means is the pipes aren't the capacity they need to be to handle that much volume. So we will have to be looking at that. And I think Barrancas shows, Main Street shows, we know we need to upgrade our pipe facility. But when you're in the middle of an urban area, there are no easy solutions. So I think it's just going to be systematic. It's going to be systematic and disciplined work over time, setting stuff up on a plan and going forward. And I think these guys have done a good job of identifying those places, and we're knocking them out as we can. And Hollis T. Williams is a huge part of that.
Do you anticipate the city proposing some stronger building codes in the near quick term?
Florida continues to exercise some of the strongest building codes that we see. I think it's amazing to see. We get a lot of bad rap sometimes, but if sometimes when these storms come down, it always baffles me. I'll talk with these people. When I was a commissioner, I had a lot of good friends out west, and they just would go crazy about 2 inches of rain, and I'd be like, 2 inches of rain? That's like a normal day. I mean, that's nothing big. So, I don't think the rest of the country or the rest of the world has made some of the investments that we've made into these things. Now, in fairness, we get more rain than most other places, so we have to do these investments. But I look at what the city's done, I look at what the county's done, and I think since the 2014 flood, we are significantly better off across the board. We're not perfect, and we got a way to go. But I think when you look at the plan that we're executing, and it's just good discipline, just continue to knock it off, just everything that we can, continue to knock it off and do those things and do another project. David, anything?
No. Nailed it.
Jeremy?
Is the federal vaccine mandate going to have any impact on the city?
I don't know. That seems to have some of its own challenges at this point. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know. I just continue to say that the more vaccines we can get done, we're going to come into a lull. Now's the time for you, if you haven't gotten the vaccine, to do it. There was a Keith for the realtors. I was shocked when I saw a Facebook page with his picture on it, said that he had died, and then reading what his family had said, and that he had just never gone and gotten it, and his daughter said the last conversation when he could still talk, he said, please make sure everyone out there gets the vaccine. He said, I should have done that. I don't know why I didn't do it. And it's just a case, a guy who's in his early 60s, it's just an unfortunate, yes, later in life, but I mean, he was a long way from probably with his health what he was expected to continue to live, but for this. So, I think, and I think what we've all seen is yes, there are certain people that are more susceptible to having problems with it than others, but at the end of the day, we're only as good as the weakest link. And so you not getting your vaccine really sets up a chain reaction opportunity that could be significantly adverse to other individuals. So I look at it as just like with polio or tuberculosis or other things I definitely don't want to get. I mean, I'm glad they're not here anymore, but if I need to go get a vaccine, I go get a vaccine. I don't understand some of the challenges. We're going to continue to have our, I think through November, Keith, we're going to continue to have, the $100 that we have here for the city. We're continuing to work to see what we can. There were some of our ARPA money looking for ways to, especially in some low-income areas, how do we improve some of our rates? So we're going to continue to vaccination rates. We're going to continue to look at that. Yes, I think we've managed to get over Delta, but at some point it's going to come back again. And I've said this for nearly a year and a half. We are not getting over COVID. The way we get through COVID is by all of us working together. And I think if we can do that, we're going to be a better place. Yes?
As far as being required to get the vaccine, city employees or not federal employees, does it trickle down?
I mean, we'll have to see where we are and what's going to happen. I mean, our whole goal, we would love to see 100% vaccination at the city employees. Obviously, we're about so we're over 50%, and we're trying to get there. And some of it is the program we introduced with the what they could earn. So to an extent, we've gotten more people vaccinated that way. So I don't know. We'll see what happens to that. I mean, our whole goal, we would like to say, yeah, if you come to work here at the city, we expect you to be vaccinated. As far as what happens with existing employees, again, we're going to continue to work through that as best we can. We're going to encourage. We've tried to incent. We're going to do what we can to make sure that I want to get to 100%.
Are you requiring new hires to be vaccinated?
We're looking at all the things we can look at.
Not yet.
We're looking at everything we can look at.
Okay, but it's not currently.
but we're looking at all those things.
On your weekly calls with the local hospital officials, have you all discussed the number of deaths occurring now? The CDC says the last 7 days have been 85 deaths. It's over 200 in the last 2 weeks reported. So have you?
I have not. I have not. We have. I mean, death is certainly like I said before. I mean, knowing people now who I've known, worked with, seen that have been killed by it is just, it's devastating. But it's so hard to deal with. I mean, there's cancer, there are heart attacks, there are a lot of different diseases that are out there that kill, and it's certainly hard to get to a point we're all going to find a demise one way or another. So I mean, I think death is a very hard position to be up against. What we have continued to do here is to say the real issue we've tried to deal with is hospital capacity. One, I think it also shows there are a heck of a lot more people that, you know, if you talk about all the people that have died, think if we put, it's probably in the thousands of people who've actually gone and been administered into a hospital, one of the 3 hospitals here. You know, I just don't know one way or the other what's the thing. The reporting of it is very difficult. The only person that really would ultimately have this data would be the Department of Health that keeps those statistics. I know this is one of the issues the hospitals say, and the question that Jim asked was about the hospitals talking about death. One of the problems with death, not everybody who dies of COVID dies at a hospital. So it makes it very difficult to get a complete number no matter what, and I know that's one of the things. Now, I know the hospitals for a long time did track that information. They did send it in to the Department of Health. When that information was no longer tracked or requested any more, than the hospitals haven't put forward that. And certainly in our reporting, we haven't seen deaths come through. But you know, our number from the very beginning, we've never changed from April of 2020. It's almost been 2 years. We've been tracking hospitalizations.
Is the Department of Health not on those?
They are on them. You know, again, you know, they would have to deal with those things, and I think that's handled at a much higher political level than I am. I mean, I'm sympathetic to the challenges they're working with, and you know, that's all I can say at this particular time. You asked also what do we deal with the hospitals? They don't have every single death that happens at a hospital. Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Keith. We will miss you, but we know you will not be far. We can get you on a bike, probably fairly fast, and get you over here from Davenport if we need you. So we look forward to you continuing to be here. We're excited about Kareth and David stepping into their new responsibilities here October 1st. And I'm sure Amy Lavoie out there will be wishing everyone a happy New Year on Friday, as she usually does, because we will be starting a new year. You know, again, I just want to say how much I appreciate you know, the staffs that we've worked with, the team here, what they continue to work with in the middle of the adversity of dealing with COVID and everything else has been truly amazing. And we're getting a lot of things done. When I see things that happen like the new Hitzman Park, what happened this weekend with Seafood Festival, we have a lot of great things happening in the city, and they're happening because there are 800 men and women that come to work every day and do a great job putting things forward for our city. So we appreciate it, and we look forward to serving you, and that's what we're going to do this week, and we'll see you next Monday.